Mm. How's it going? How's it going? This is yours truly, Rama Screen, covering movies, TV, and entertainment. Can you hear me okay? Can you see me okay? All right, right now is Thursday, January 2nd, 2020. I hope you had a fantastic and somewhat restful New Year's Day yesterday. After all the partying and the champagne, I hope you caught a bit of nap at least in between somehow. So yesterday, the big deal was the premiere of the new season of Doctor Who, right? And the premiere of Dracula limited series. Now, what's interesting or what's fascinating about the timing of the arrival of both those shows is that Dracula is or yeah, is created and showrun by none other than the team Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat. You recognize those names, right? Because those guys are the forces behind Sherlock series, starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. And for the longest time, for a number of years, Stephen Moffat was also handling Doctor Who. So Doctor Who and Dracula happening at the same time. It's like, whoa, that's interesting. Of course, Moffat now has moved on from the Time Lord. Um, so I received questions about this show from some of you guys asking, "Hey Rama, are you gonna talk about or review Dracula that's coming to Netflix?" And I had to clarify to them. I was like, okay, I am interested in watching it, but keep in mind that it's not just a Netflix thing. It's a co-production of BBC One, and Netflix. So what happens is that BBC will get to air it first. They aired it last night, and I think the second episode airs today. I'll be reviewing that as well for you guys. And then tomorrow night, Friday night, is the third episode, the final episode. Now, remember, this is kind of like Sherlock format, right? Sherlock is like this as well. It's a mini series. It's a limited series. It's not like your regular 24 or 13 episode type of show. So Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, whenever they're free from their busy lives doing movies, they would reunite and collaborate once again for another season of Sherlock. That's all. That only happens like every other 3-4 years now. And whenever a new season drops, it's like not all of them drop at the same time, for you to binge watch. No. So the first night, second night, third night. And each episode is about feature length style, an hour and a half or 90 minutes long. So that's the style that you get here from Dracula. Um, all right. Now that you've gotten that context. Um, and then Netflix will get to air all of them, all three of them, this Saturday. So if you don't want to watch each of them like individually, like I do right now on BBC, you can wait for Saturday when all three episodes will be available for you to binge watch on Netflix. All right, so and before I go and watch the second episode today, I think it already aired, so I need to catch that. Let me talk to you about this first episode. Now, just like with any of my TV reviews on shows that already aired, this is a lot like that in that there will be spoilers. This is a spoiler review, all right? Because the episode already aired. The episode already is out there in the world for everybody to see. So there's no need for me to like walk all around eggshells or like being secretive about anything anymore. So I'm just giving you opinion, my reaction, my thoughts, my response to what many of you have also seen last night. So heads up, there are spoilers in this review, um, or recap, whatever you want to call it. I just want to say, I just want to start off by saying that it's been a long, long, long ass time since I watched the 1992 Francis Ford Coppola directed film Bram Stoker's Dracula, starring Gary Oldman as Dracula, Keanu Reeves as Jonathan Harker, Winona Ryder as Mina, and Anthony Hopkins as the famous legendary hunter Abraham Van Helsing. It's been a long time. I remember watching it when I was a teenager. I did not watch it when the movie was out in theaters. I watched it a few years after that when it was playing on TV. I remember watching, and I remember it scared the shit out of me, especially the scenes involving Gary Oldman, the makeup that they did with his that white hair, and it's just it's so bombastic in a way. And of course, there's a scene when he's a little bit younger and he's wearing that kind of like dark glasses, a little bit mustache with a top hat. He looked intimidating in that role. But if you ask me, do I remember what happens in each scene? I barely remember anymore. It's like vaguely now because it's been a long time and I only watched it once, not twice, once. So I may have to revisit that again. Um, but it is considered a classic by a lot of fans of horror or fans of monsters and creatures. Excuse me. Um, I've never read the book Bram Stoker's Dracula. I only have that memory of the movie or shades of it. No, not all of it. So coming into this limited series, I practically came in pretty fresh. Um, but my overall verdict after watching the whole 90 minutes of it, I loved it. If you ask me, like, what's your quick reaction of it, Rama, or to it? I loved it. It was so unique. The take that Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat did on this iconic character. Um, oh yeah, yeah. So let's break it down. Let's break it down. First of all, before we're gonna leave the best for last. All right, we're gonna talk about Claes Bang as Dracula for last. First of all, it has similar format or style as Sherlock. All right, or even similar style as police dramas out there. So in this first episode, we see Jonathan Harker already in his state of almost forming into a vampire, being interrogated by two nuns, one of whom her name is Agatha, Sister Agatha. And the other, for a big chunk of the episode, is like this other sister that's an observer. Maybe she is as a protege, maybe she's just learning from observing kind of thing. We don't know until it's revealed later on that she's actually Mina. So I yeah, so that's the format that Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss did for this show. In that it's interesting because it doesn't really deviate away from the style of Sherlock. Granted, Sherlock does not spend too much time in interrogation room interrogating the suspect. Um, but whenever Sherlock gets a client, right, before he agrees to take on that client's case, he'd be like questioning the client, and sometimes he would deduct the client's like, "Oh, look at that, your collar, your collar's popped, or you're wearing this kind of shirt. That means it tells me that you're this kind of person," stuff like that. So I like that. I like that. It makes the audience feel like on the side of Sister Agatha, trying to ask the question. So Sister Agatha, for the first half of the episode, sort of like the representation of the audience, because the story kind of goes back and forth, right, from that interrogation room to what happened leading up to that. And so Sister Agatha would be like a detective, right, asking like the police, kind of like, right, but Jonathan, you said that you did this. I'm like, did you have sex with Dracula? Like, what? You wrote this, but this is all that you wrote. It was so engaging through and through, man. I was so fixated the whole time There was no boring moment whatsoever in this episode. Especially the twist that what he had written was just Dracula was God, Dracula was good. I love Dracula. It's like, damn. When a cop asks the witness or the suspect to write a statement, right, to write their side of the story, they would like, hey, here's a paper and a pen, and that's usually what happened. But for the side of Jonathan Harker, it all ends up just being Dracula is God, Dracula is God. So that's pretty much the format and the style. It doesn't really deviate away from Sherlock. Another thing that also is very Sherlock-esque is that there's a shot of or a scene of Jonathan Harker um, writing or penning a letter to Mina, and then you see, half of like, I guess you could say glances of Mina also writing back to him, and the way that whole sequence plays out, it's a lot like Sherlock because there'll be close-ups of the pen, close-ups of do you know those moments when Sherlock is trying to deduce something? It's trying to, and then you kind of see what he's thinking. Like there's not just like writings or equations, but also like objects and whatnot. That's the impression that also that scene gives out. So that is also very Sherlock esque. I love it. I love it. you can tell that this is you can tell that this is Dracula Moffatized. Can we say that? Stephen Moffat? Moffatized? It's a Moffatized Dracula, okay? That's pretty much what this is. Um I love Sister Agatha. She is a fantastic character. Oh my god. And it was revealed halfway through that she is Agatha Helsing, Van Helsing. So it's a gender reversal there, man. There's no Abraham Van Helsing. Van Helsing is Agatha, and this character is played by actress named Dolly Wells. You may have recognized her from the movie Can You Ever Forgive Me with Melissa McCarthy. The way Dolly Wells plays this character, Agatha Van Helsing, is so mwah, so delicious, man. So good. She she is so sarcastic, uh, and she's so cynical. In a lot of ways, she kind of reminds you of Benedict Cumberbatch's performance as Sherlock. I always tell people that Benedict Cumberbatch's performance as Sherlock is a bit of a dick. He's a bit of a jerk because he likes to put down the people around him. That's the kind of, Dolly Wells as Agatha Van Helsing, the whole time that she's interrogating Jonathan Harker, she would frequently put him down. She would, you know, there's a little jab here and there every now and then that would like, what are you, stupid? Kind of like that. She's like trying to mock Jonathan Harker. Is like, you little shit. I love that, and the way Dolly Wells plays it is so perfect, pitch perfect. I love it. It's probably next to Class Bang, my favorite performance out of this episode. Now Mina, the girl who plays Mina, I thought it was the same actress who plays Ciri in the Witcher Netflix Witcher series because they kind of look alike. I'm sorry, I don't mean it like that in a bad way, but I thought it was the same girl. It was this very pale, pasty white girl, very quiet, and I was like, oh, that looks like the girl from. But no, apparently it's some other actress. It's the actress who will end up in the Lord of the Rings series on Amazon, by the way. So Mina in this episode, oh, she's one of those people that you would kind of like shake your head at, like, oh, why would you do that, girl? You're so dumb. Like the last part of this episode one, it went haywire for the nuns, not for us, the audience. It was fantastic, but haywire for the nuns, for the convent, because of this decisions, or maybe lack of decisions, on the part of Mina. You know, instead of killing Jonathan, it's just like, no, I don't want to kill you. So Jonathan ends up trying to kill himself, but the rule is like you can't kill yourself if you're like freaking vampire. And that leads to Jonathan inviting Dracula in a convent, and then by the end of it, when Agatha says like, don't approach, that's not the Jonathan you know. And it's like, no, I don't want to listen to you. I want to help my. I was like, oh, it's one of those characters that just frustrate you, but that's how you know that she's effective, because that's how the character is written, how she needs to play it out. So it's fascinating, fascinating. Another thing I want to point out also is that it seems that Agatha Van Helsing is still learning about Dracula and vampires, just as we, the audience, are learning with her. Because throughout this episode, there are instances when she's like, wait a minute, I gotta look at the book again. Like, wait a minute, Draculas don't do that. Like, wait a minute, if we do this, will it work? Like, there were times when it seems that she was not certain about her own knowledge, um, which kind of gave me the signal that maybe this is kind of like Van Helsing in her formative years, as opposed to Van Helsing that's already, a freaking expert, a freaking like legendary. So, one of the things that, at least in my opinion, I don't know if it's a common knowledge, but one of the new things that Dracula, or new skills of Dracula, is that he can inhabit a person's body, and he can also inhabit an animal's body. In this case, a wolf. Oh, that scene where he burst out of that wolf. Oh, dude, that was so sick. That's also another thing that I love about this show. Just the level of the not just the makeup, but also the production design, the way his castle moves like a maze. It looks so authentic, so creepy, so disturbing. um I think I tweeted about this last night, or maybe I didn't. But the monsters, or the vampires that live inside Dracula's castle, the sequence where they come out of the box, kind of like freaking what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, so those monsters, the makeup department of this show make them look like, or at least in my opinion, they remind me of the ghouls and the ghosts in Michael Jackson's music video "Beat It." It's like, oh my god! It's so, to me, they're not necessarily as scary as they are fascinating. I wasn't like terrified by them, but it was like, whoa, this looks like the monsters in the music video of Backstreet Boys, Backstreet Back. All right, it's like that. It's like, or Michael Jackson "Beat It," and so I was like, oh, they're going really kind of like retro with this, instead of like all just like the purpose is just trying to put nightmare into your mind. Instead of that, they're just like going fun with this. Um, of course, it's another case with Claes Bang as Dracula. He is just he is just straight up terror. Okay, terror. Um, so which leads us to this final point. Claes Bang, I hope I pronounced that name correctly. He is perfect, perfect, sublime, remarkable. This is the right man for the job. And I think, at least from the first episode, Claes Bang did so well that he would make Bela Lugosi and Christopher Lee very proud. Bela Lugosi was the icon who played Dracula in the black and white era. And Christopher Lee, as you know, the late great Christopher Lee, played Dracula many, in many many movies by Hamner Production. Of course, the younger generation probably knows him best as Count Dooku and Saruman. But yeah, Claes Bang did Bela Lugosi and Christopher Lee proud. Hey, Mick is here. Yes, the new TV series on Netflix. I explained earlier, Mick that the TV series is not just a Netflix thing. It's a BBC Netflix. It's a co-production. So the first episode already aired last night on BBC. The second episode airs today on BBC. The third episode airs tomorrow night, Friday, on BBC. And then all three episodes will be available on Netflix for you to binge watch um, on Saturday, starting Saturday. So that's why this review is this. That's why this review contains spoilers, because this is mostly for those of you who've also seen the first episode last night. So to answer your question, yes, this is the same show that will be on Netflix starting this Saturday. So back to Claes Bang, just the right man for the job. That part at the end of the episode when he says like, "Oh, I've been dying to see you," and then he just showcases his like teeth and again, great. The guys who did the makeup for Claes Bang and all the other creatures on this show, great job. When he says that, it just strikes fear, like, or sends chills down your spine. The other monsters in his castle look like monsters you see on music videos for Backstreet Boys or Michael Jackson. But Claes Bang, the way he performs as Dracula and the makeup that the production had on him, it's designed to be the stuff that nightmares are made of. Okay, and they've successfully accomplished that. I think, and it is so cool too whenever he's not being all bloodthirsty. Whenever he's like trying to be conniving, in the castle when he's trying to get Jonathan to write letters, and like even in those moments, it's like the guy is charismatic, but in a way where you kind of there's something in the back of your mind. You're kind of like, oh, maybe I should keep my distance. He's so charming, but there's something about this guy. So all of that is thanks to Claes Bang's uh, wonderful performance, and he has joined the ranks of the late greats like Bela Lugosi and Christopher Lee, that have made this iconic character timeless. And so I can't wait for episode 2 on this Moffatized, right? Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss, Moffatized Dracula. It's so cool to have those two creative talents back. I would love it if they come back with another Sherlock season, though. But you know what? For now, I'll take this Dracula. And it's still cool. It's not Sherlock, but it's Sherlock-esque. It's Moffatized. And it's a new, even though the story is period piece, still set in the Transylvania 1890, whatever you want, the mythology of it, they Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss dare to experiment, to present to you a new blood of Dracula. You see some skills of Dracula that you're like, whoa, Dracula can do that? Like, I didn't know that. So that's how Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat try to introduce this iconic character to today's generation and make him fresh. I read somewhere that the main objective of this Count Dracula, is actually to go to England and pretty much kill everybody. Start like sucking people's blood left and right, kind of like the Jack the Ripper sort of deal. If that's the case, if that is his goal, because I think episode 1 kind of hints on that a little bit. Wow, I want to see that. That's gonna be like, it's gonna be mayhem, man. Panic in London. Count Dracula out on the loose every night, killing people. Oh, so we'll see whether or not Agatha Van Helsing and Mina, and if Jonathan Harker's still around, if they can stop Count Dracula, or if we're going to get to see Count Dracula in London wreaking havoc. Either way, I'm looking forward to it. Episode 2 starts today, so I'll be back to review that later on. McFitol says, thanks a lot for the feedback. I really want to keep listening, but I haven't watched it yet. No worries. I know this got spoilers in this video, so if you want to watch the whole thing, just the 3 episodes at once in one sitting, it'll be on Netflix starting Saturday. But episode 2 airs today on BBC, so I'm gonna watch it right now, and I'll be back with my live review of that. Thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in. If you've seen the episode, and if you got questions about the episode from last night, share your questions, share your theories, share your thoughts about them in the comment section below. I want to hear your thoughts about last night's episode and about this whole show overall. If you like them or don't like them, what criticism you have about it, let me know, okay? And as always, subscribe to my channel, press that like button, ring that bell, and if you can help support me, please do so at patreon.com/ramascreen. Let's rock this.